Hello everyone, my name is Nikki and welcome to my channel. In today's video I will be doing my July bullet journal spread, and this month's theme is travel. So this will be my travel journal, as this month I will be going on a little trip to Geneva to see CERN and some other cool sites there. So I decided to focus this month's theme on the theme of travel and exploration. This is actually my second attempt at this bullet journal spread. I did another theme and I filmed a video, however I realized that it wasn't really my best work. I was not happy with the way that it turned out, and I felt that it wasn't really representative of my usual style and my best work, so I decided to redo it, make sure that I was completely 100% happy with it. However, if you do want to see my initial attempt, you can follow me on Instagram at Expressive Journal, and there you'll be able to see some photos, sneak peeks, and all the deets. Anyway, I'm very happy to be able to bring this to you guys. I've wanted to do this spread for so long, and yes, I hope you all enjoy. First, to start off, I'm doing the introduction to the month page, almost like the title page of July, and I'm drawing two postcards. One of them has a little map of the world, including UK and a little piece of Europe, then the other one has a standard postcard design. Then I'm also going to be drawing this little paper airplane and some dashes behind it, so it looks like it's flying in the wind. And my cohesive element throughout this bullet journal, I believe, is the theme of maps and also the paper airplanes. For this bullet journal spread, I'm mainly going to be using uni pen fine liners in black, medium grey and light grey, using the thicknesses of around 0.2mm and 0.5. And then basically I'm just trying to sketch everything out. I feel like this is a lot more cohesive, especially with it being more of a monochrome color palette. That's a lot more like my style, and I'm very happy with the way that this turned out. So basically I'm trying to use the thinner Unipen fine liners and just draw some shading around the postcards and also the paper airplane. Then I'm stamping July, and then this little Paris stamp with some black ink just add that extra level of detail and something quite cool, cute and travel themed. Now onto the first page, I'll be doing my goals and my reminders on one page, and then I've shifted up the layout of the bullet journal slightly. So in the following page, I'll be having my Instagram and YouTube planning and tracking section. So basically, I love to set myself goals at the beginning of each month, try and have something to work towards each and every month so I'm not wandering aimlessly through it. Then also reminders so I know what events or things are coming up, tasks that I have to do. Then for the Instagram and YouTube, basically I have a calendar so I can note down when I'll be posting, and a plan, for example, when I need to film, what I need to film, when I need to do a photo shoot, etc, etc. So to fill in the blank space, I'm going with a theme of a map, like lots of roads. So I'm using my Unipen fine liners and then also a Unipen brush pen, and basically just drawing a little map of some roads, trying to make them look quite realistic, making some roads thicker than others, and then using this Uniball Signo white gel pen and then writing down some names of roads and paths from Geneva in Switzerland, or just across Switzerland, which I thought was a very cute touch, made it look a little bit more decorative, and seeing as this is inspired by my trip to Geneva very soon, I thought that it would be very fitting. With a thinner Unipen fine liner pen, I'm drawing some more thinner roads and pathways, and then I also drew in some buildings and such just from my imagination, and also a few inspired by some real buildings around Switzerland and Geneva. I then used the medium grey and the light grey Unipen fine liners to draw those and add some shading and extra details. Everything is quite sketched out, it's not very precise, they're just little small doodles, and I feel like this bullet journal really does reflect my Harry Potter one for, I believe, November, and then my April showers one where I had a lot of rain and different buildings drawn. I feel like those two mashed together create this one, which is quite interesting, and I really like the theme as well. I also drew some fir trees in the light grey and the medium grey in the same method as I used for my January bullet journal, I believe. Then to keep it cohesive, I then wrote down the names of the streets from Geneva and Switzerland in those spaces, and then I stamped goals, reminders, Instagram and YouTube at the top of all of those little pieces of paper there, and the calendars for the Instagram and YouTube tracker. So of course I drew the calendars for the Instagram and YouTube trackers there, Monday through to Sunday, and then all the days of the month. Then underneath I wrote the word plan for my planning section. And then for some finishing touches, I used a Tombow brush pen in the coolest and lightest grey shade and just created a drop shadow. Drop shadows are very nice to just bring everything forward, and I believe with there being a lot of things going on in the background, this is a very nice simple touch that brought these writing spaces forward. Then I also added some shading onto the pins, keeping up these pieces of paper. Moving on to the next page, we have my mood tracker. So basically I drew all of these different paper airplanes, and the idea is, depending on my mood, I'll be coloring each of these in a different color. I'm not sure whether I'll be doing some sort of pastel colors or whether I will be sticking to the gray monochromatic theme just yet, but I will be adding a small little key in the bottom corner of this page, so I left some space there especially for that. I tried to make them different, do them coming at different angles, and then basically I used different colored pens, so the Unipen fine liners in medium or light gray, and then used a Tombow to add some shading. Moving on, we've now got my water tracker, and then on the next page my revision tracker and exam tracker, because in July I do not have that many exams. I've just got a few of my final ones, then I'm done, and of course revision for those. Then I'm on summer holiday for the majority of the month, so I didn't want this space to be too full, or I didn't want these topics to take up too much space. That's why just that one page in the format like that works for me. And then I'm going back to my old water tracker because I feel like simplistic works best. And basically the idea is, for every drink I have of water, I will color in one of these raindrops. So I just drew a line at number 1 there so you guys can get the general idea. Then this, I was inspired by a piece of map from Geneva, and I added some of the road names there as well, and also drew in a little doodle of a nice building there too. Basically what I'm working on right now is filling in all of the roads, trying to make it look accurate to the maps that I'm using for reference. Basically I just went on Google Maps and zoomed in on certain parts of Switzerland. Nothing too interesting, but I do have a Pinterest board which I will be linking down below, and I'll also be linking my inspiration so you guys can see what photos and images I have primarily been inspired by, giving full credit and making sure that you guys can perhaps see where my inspiration came from and be inspired in your own way. Next, I'm using that white gel pen to write the street names as well, just for those extra finishing touches, and then I'm now moving on to drawing the building here. I was inspired by the UN building, and basically I tried to recreate that in my own little way, making it quite doodly, and I really like the way that it turned out using the lighter grey for shading, not using that harsh black, just to make it stand out on the page and add that extra depth and detail. Now I'll also be going back to my usual schedule and routine of having the poll up in the top right hand corner of the video, so you can tap or click on the little eye, and I'll have a poll for you guys to vote on for what theme you'd like to see in the next month. The past 2 months I've done my own themes just because I've had exams going on, and also with my trip to Geneva, so I wanted to do certain themes, but now it's up to you guys to decide again, so I hope that you guys will pick wisely and that you enjoy the choices that you have now. Again, I used a light grey Tombow brush pen to create a drop shadow on the boxes for water, revision and exams, just to make them stand out a little bit more on the page. Then I went over them again to darken certain areas, and next we'll be moving on to the actual holiday and travel section. So here I have a space for a packing list and then a box for each day of the trip. I am going to be leaving on the Wednesday and coming back on the Saturday. However, we don't really have anything planned for the Saturday, therefore I have a box for each of the 3 days. There will be activities and events. Basically on the left, the packing list, I can write down everything that I'm bringing with me, then be able to check it before I leave, and then, before I leave the UK, and then before I leave the destination coming back home, and then I can write down my day plan for each of the days on the trip. So I've got an idea of what we'll be doing, write down any times and important information just to make sure I have it all in that one place. Then I'm doing the same technique, creating the roads like the map, but then I have a lot more doodles of certain places inspired by a little map of Geneva that I found on Pinterest, which I will be linking for you guys, and you guys can see all of my inspiration there. Also took a little bit of creative license and again drew a lot of trees, different things around so you guys can see what I'm doing. You can also perhaps notice certain notable features that are inspired by places in Geneva itself, like in the top left left I have sun and then different buildings inspired by those actually located in Geneva. I wanted to make it quite authentic, quite different, and inspired by the actual trip, so it'll be a nice sweet memory of mine that I can look back on. I think that out of the whole journal, this page did take the longest and is the most detailed. However, I think that this page will be something I'll be referring to a lot during the trip. I quite enjoyed making it this detailed, and also having that sentimental value being inspired by the place that I'm actually going to. I thought that that would be very sweet and nice. Also being able to have that memory of like something that I can hold of a day-by-day guide of what I did. It's very nice to look back in your bullet journals and see your progress throughout the months, or see that what you've done, all of the different activities. That's a very nice thing to do, and hold all of those memories really close. If you guys would like to see some of my previous bullet journals, I do have a playlist in which I keep all of my bullet journal themed videos, whether that's my actual bullet journal spreads or ideas and planning for them. Then you guys can watch those and you can see my progression. I really do love looking back, and I think that since this is a new start for a new journal for the last half of the year, I would really love to be able to look over how I've managed to progress in terms of things in my life, but also in terms of like my art and how that has changed as well. To fill in a lot of blank space, I decided to draw a lot of these trees, very similar to the technique that I used in my January bullet journal, which was inspired by Dark Forest. And I really think that this method is so quick and easy to do. Then using the two different tones, it can create the illusion of certain trees being in the background, being in the lighter color, and then the darker ones being in the foreground closer to you. So I really do like to play with that depth perception, and I don't like my drawings to look 2D, so I prefer to add some sort of shading or something to make them appear more 3D and pop out a little bit more on the page. That's mainly why I'm doing a lot of drop shadows as well, you may see. So just to fill in that extra blank spaces, I'm also drawing some more roads and pathways just to make sure it isn't that bland and blank. Also, I think that using the trees and such really does help fill in those spaces that are lacking something or could use a little bit more. Next, I drew a little train line right there in the bottom left corner, and I stamped this compass at the top of the page. Next, doing the drop boxes on all of the boxes on the page, really helping it stand out, and you can see how finished the page looks now. Afterwards, I'll be going over the drop shadows again to make sure that they're dark enough and all the boxes are standing out on the page as well. Then finally, I will be adding the finishing touches by stamping out the names on each of the boxes. So packing list, day 1, day 2, and day 3 with some ink stamps. Then I also wrote down the names of some paths, and next we will be moving on to the final page. And now we're going to be moving on to the final set of pages, and here is the beginning of my day-by-day section. So usually I have a nice little diary section at the end of my bullet journal where I basically write down an entry every other day or plan out what's happening, stuff that's going on. I decided to shift it up a little bit, but still I have the introduction and this little picture page just as usual with the calendar on the right hand side. And this artwork here on the left was inspired by an image that I found, and I believe that the original artist is called narak.art on Instagram. I found the photo on Pinterest, so I decided to use that as my reference. I really loved the idea, and it helped me find the inspiration of the paper airplanes throughout the bullet journal. So I decided to draw that on this left hand side page, and then I used my Unipen fine liners and also Tombow brush pen in light grey to create the shadowing, and then also the airplane at the bottom there. Then with this light grey Unipen fine liner, I drew the dotted lines there so it looks like the paper airplane is flying. Then in a 0.1mm Unipen fine liner in black, I then wrote down all the days of the month and then stamped Monday through to Sunday at the top there. And next we'll be moving on to that little diary section. Here, instead of doing it like one entry per day, I basically put the whole month on one page because I found that I wasn't really using it that much, and with the summer holidays about to start, I don't really need to plan out a whole lot. So I'm basically using this to have a general idea of the month. Basically the layout that I'm going for, I have a block for every week of the month, week 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Then at the bottom of the page I have 2 spaces for notes where I can just freely write anything that I need. Then at the top left hand corner of the page I have the word July stamped out, then also the month written out. Next, I drew the paper airplane with the dash line behind it, and I also began to draw drop shadows on all of the boxes. I tend to go over them twice so that they are dark and they all stand out, making sure that the boxes aren't flat on the page and it looks a little bit more 3D. So that was it for the bullet journal, and I'm going to be doing a flip through now. So here we have the introduction to the month page with the word July stamped out. Very nice way to welcome in the new month with a cute little drawing. Then on the following page we have my goals, reminders, my Instagram planner and my YouTube planner with a lovely map in the background. Following that, we then have my mood tracker, where I have plenty of these little paper airplanes that I'll be colouring in a different colour for each day of the month, depending on how I feel. Following that, we have my necessary water tracker to make sure I'm staying hydrated, and my revision and exam tracker, so I can make sure I stay on top of all of my work this month. Following that, we then have my actual travel journal section, where I have my packing list and a little day-by-day section where I can write down any important information and all of my day plans. After that, we then have the beginning of the diary section with this lovely drawing on the left and a calendar on the right. Then after that, we have my month diary section. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and for this I used my Le Monde bullet journal, also Unipin fine liners in black, grey and light grey, Tombow brush pens and a lot of different stamps, plus a Uniball Signo white gel pen. So I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please give the video a thumbs up. Don't forget that you can like and subscribe. Also share with your friends. You can press the bell to receive notifications when I post a new video, and I will see you guys next Saturday. Bye!